Hi everyone, I'm Giselle Generalao from BSBA major in Financial Management. So today I will discuss about disclosure and transparency. When we say disclosure and transparency, the corporate governance framework should ensure that timely and accurate disclosure is made on all material matters regarding the corporation, including the financial situation, performance, ownership, and governance of the company. Ang corporate governance is a framework ensure shareholder right exercise, equitable treatment, and effective redress for violations. Transparency is an important principle of good governance since a degree of clarity and openness about how decisions are taken can help to build the capacity of the poor or marginalized to play a role in a policy formulation and implementation to influence this decision that affect their lives and to encourage. Next is enhancing company disclosure, policies and procedures. Principle 8. The company should establish corporate disclosure policies and procedures that are practical and in accordance with best practice and regulatory expectations. So para sa ako, importante ang corporate governance tungod kay nag-create sila og system of rules and practices that determine how company operates ug giunsa pag-align with the interest sa tanan nga mga stakeholders. Next is Recommendation 8.1, Establish corporate disclosure policies and procedures. So it means setting up clear policies and procedures on corporate disclosure that comply with the disclosure requirements as provided in Rule 68 of the Securities Regulation Code SRC, Philippine Stock Exchange Listing and Disclosure Rules, and other regulations such as those required by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas is essential for comprehensive and timely reporting. Next is Recommendation 8.2, Establish a policy requiring all directors and officers to disclose report to the company any dealings in the company's shares within 3 business days. So for me, directors often have access to material inside information on the company. Hence, to the reduced risk that the directors might take advantage of this information, it is crucial for companies to have a policy requiring directors to timely disclose to company any dealings with the company shares. Next is Recommendation 8.3, Disclose all relevant and material information on individual board members and key executive. So, sa akong nasabtan is, the board should fully disclose all relevant material information on individual board members and key executives to evaluate their experience and qualification and assess any potential conflicts of interest that might affect their judgment.
I'm Jan Karonggi. I'm second reporters of Disclosure and Transparency. Recommendation 8.4. The company should provide a clear disclosure of its policies and procedure for stating board and executive remuneration as well of the label and mix of the same in the annual corporate governance report. Also, companies should disclose the remuneration on an individual basis, including termination and retirement and provisions. So kani di ay siya nga kumpanya, mao ni siya ang usab nga gahatag og malinaw nga pagpahayag sa mga policy niya. Pamaagi niini alang sa pagtakda sa bayad sa board og executive ingon ang label nga pagsagol sa parehas nga annual corporate governance nga maoy mo report usab sa kumpanya nga kinahanglan nga ibunyag gyud ang suhol sa usa ka tagsa-tagsa nga basihan pagkatapos og mga probisyon sa imong pagretiro. So next, disclosure of remuneration policies and procedure enables investors to understand the link between the remuneration paid to directly and key management personnel and company performance. The reverse code of corporate governance required only a disclosure all fixed and variable composition that may be paid directly or indirectly to ensure the return on the top for management officer during the during the preceding fiscal year. So, however, disclosure on board and executive remuneration and individual basis including termination and retirement provision. So, increasing regard as good practice is now mandated in many countries. So, ang reverse code sa corporate governance, nagmando ni siya sa pagbunyag sa tanang fixed variable compensation nga gibayad ngadto sa mga direkta og top management officer atol sa miaging fiscal year. Bisan pa ang pagbunyag sa bayad sa board executive sa usa ka individual nga basihan, mga probinsyon sa pagtapos sa pagretiro labi nga gikonsidera sa maayong practice o gimando sa kadaghanan sa mga nasod. Nakatabang kini sa mga tigpamuhunan nga makasabot ang kalabigitan sa tali sa sweldo o sa pandanyag sa mga kumpanya. So next is the disclosure of remuneration policies and procedure allow investor of comprehend the correlation between the compensation paid of directly and key management personnel and the company performance. The reverse code, a corporate governance, mandates disclosure of fixed of variable compensation of director, top management officer during the preceding fiscal year. However, disclosure on board executive remuneration, including termination and interment provision, is increasingly regards to the good practice. Next is recommendation 8.4. The company should disclose the policies governing related party transfactor RPT and other usual of incurrently occurring transaction in their manual on corporate governance. The material of significant RPT is reviewed and approved during the year should be disclosed in annual corporate governance report. Sa usa ka tukma sa panahon nga pagbunyag sa mga policy sa kumpanya nga nagdumala sa mga RPT ug uban na dili kasagaran og panagsara mahitabo nga mga transaksyon. Ingon man gud ang ingon man gud ang pagripaso og pag-aproba sa material og pahinungdanong RPT gikonsidera nga maayong corporate governance practice nga gitumong padulong sa pagpugong sa mga obsidong pagsabot og transaksyon og sa pagsiugda sa transparency kini na mga policy nagpasiguro ni nga ang mga transaksyon nga mahitabo sa mga presyo sa merkado ug ubos sa kondisyon nga nalipod sa mga katungod sa tanang nagpatalikod sa mga tanang shareholders ang maong pagbunyag niya. So next is a full, accurate, and timely. So mao ni siya ang kuan sa RPT nga a full, accurate, timely disclosure of company policy, government, RPT, and other usual infrequently occurring transaction as well as the review of the approved of material and significant RPT is regarded as a good corporate governance practice geared toward to prevention of abusive dealing and transaction and promotion of transparency. This policy include ensuring that transaction occur and market price and under And under condition of the protect the right of all shareholders, the C disclosure include directors and key exclusive reporting of the board when they have RPTs that could influence the judgment. Next is good corporate governance practice involve accurate and timely disclosure of the company policy governing RPT and other usual transaction, ensuring transaction accurate the market price of the protect shareholders right. Director and executive must report RPT as to be board. A company policy governing RPT and other usually and transaction along with the review and approval of significant RPT is considered good corporate governance practice. So these policies to prevent abusive dealing and promote transparency, ensuring transaction accurate of market price is protect shareholders' right. So, mo ni siya ang mga direkta og mga bali mga yabi nga mga hektibo sa nagtaho ngadto sa lupon kung sila adtong mga RPT ay makapluwensya ba sa ilang mga hukom.
Recommendation 8.6. The company should make a full, fair, accurate, and timely disclosure to the public of every material fact or event that occurs, particularly on the acquisition or disposal of significant assets, which could adversely affect the viability or the interests of its shareholders and other stakeholders. Moreover, the board of the offering company should appoint an independent party to evaluate the fairness of the transactions price on the acquisition or disposal assets. Means the independent evaluation of fairness of the transaction price ensures the acquisition or the disposal assets. Transparency in business or governance context refers to being open and honest. As part of the corporate governance best practice, this requires disclosure of all relevant information so that others can make informed discussion. Recommendation 8.7. The company corporate governance policies and programs and procedures should be contained on its manual or on corporate governance, which should be submitted to the regulators and posted on the company's website. Transparency is one of the core principles of corporate governance. To ensure the better protection of shareholders and other stakeholders' rights, full disclosure of the company's corporate governance policies, programs, and procedures is imperative.